Hey, hi everybody. Good evening. And today, my name is Alvin Kuek. For those who do not know me, I'm the principal advisor at my stretcher. And, and with me, Sarah, not teacher Sarah. Okay, and with me is Sarah. Sarah is the head of upper secondary and JC science. Okay, so Sarah, remember the change.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. So we'll be the main speakers for today. I'll be the main speaker. And then whatever we are giving, whatever we're sharing you now, we're going to give you the slides right now. Okay. So there's no need for you to copy because today it's our job to clarify as many misconceptions as possible. And these slides are pretty comprehensive. Okay. So they're all here. There is no need to copy. There's no need to take a picture. Okay. Unless you want to jot down notes, not a problem. So at any one time, please feel free to um, change, ask questions at any point in time. Sarah, teacher Sarah, change the name. Thank you. Okay, let's go on. So don't worry, we'll be giving you the slides here. So let me start with the slides first. All you get is quite is a lot of pages, but it encapsulates everything that we need to find out. Or need to know. Okay, just give me a minute. I'm trying to pull out my slides. Okay, can all of you see my slides? Let me see. Zoom. I'm sharing slides now. Okay, can all you see my slides? Can. Okay, so don't worry, you get the whole slides. In fact, the slides are being attached here right now, so you don't need to copy them. So as mentioned, so today what I'm going to cover, strategy, school choice, portfolio, interview prep. Okay, so it is the three speakers, but Moses is a little bit busy. So the two main speakers will be here. Moses is listening in the background. Okay. So as you can see, for those who do not know me, I'm the principal advisor. Then Sarah is the MS head of upper sec and JC science. Okay. So he leads the MyStretcher upper sec and JC science programs. The JC programs are rolling out pretty soon. Okay. Now, tonight's agenda. So if any point in time you have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box. So Sarah, you can take a look at the chat. If I miss out anything, just let us know. You can just interrupt me and post the question if it's really necessary. Okay. If not, and fine, we'll tackle all the questions. So the first question we are going to ask is DSA-JC or Poly EAE. Now, what is EAE? EAE means early admission exercise. Now, why are we covering poly? I think it's important because generally right now times have changed. It's different from those times when I was in university. Those times when I was in university, like a long, long time ago, like 30 over years ago, a long, long time ago, we had poly students in our class. But generally, during those times, poly students are really, it's really difficult for them to compete against the JC students. So this is the reality. But before I was in the financial sector for 10 years, for more than 10 years. After that, I joined the Polytechnic as a lecturer. So I'm pretty familiar with the Polytechnic system already. Now it is still the same. So before I joined my church full time, I was in the Polytechnic as a lecturer for 4 years. And during that time, it has really changed because I realized that there were many 6 pointers. I was lecturing in the Faculty of Business and Accountancy, and there were many six pointers. Okay, and some of them are really good. So even when I was a lecturer at the Polytechnic, because I still keep in contact with my poly students, and you realize that those who are really competitive, they enter universities, and not only do they enter universities, they get first class honors in the local universities, which is not exactly very easy to do. Okay, for those of you who are going to local university scene familiar, you realize that it is always easier to score in overseas universities. In local universities, not so easy. So if you get first class honors, right now the new name is highest distinction with you graduate with highest distinction. So they've changed the name, first class honors, right? And Sarah here was one of them. Sarah did biochem.
Biomed.
biomedical science. Okay, so very, very competitive course, biomedical science, and he got the first class honors. So again, he's a pretty good student. Okay, pretty good student. That is why we're all here to share. Right. So times have changed. Why I'm bringing this is because right now, the poly students, 60% of poly students who enter the Polytechnic actually all qualify for JC. This is a fact. It's not an opinion. This is the statistic which is given by MOE over the last couple of years. In fact, here at my stretcher alone, we have got some fantastic students who entered the Poly and did very well. Right now, they are in the local universities. Okay, there are quite a number of them. Okay, so it is not a poor man's cause. So I want to correct this. This is why it's important for all of us to consider this as well. So is DSA-JC or Poly early admission exercise the right pathway? First scenario. Should I aim for JC or Polytechnic? Number two, very pertinent question. Which JCs or diploma courses to consider? So JC subjects, diploma is at the poly level, right? Which talent area or course to apply under? How do we build a strong portfolio, profile and portfolio? And these are general things which all of us need to know, whether it's for DSA or later on in life, okay? Personal statement and write-up tips, preparing for interviews, trials, and aptitude tasks, common mistakes that weaken applications. Okay, so this will be the agenda for today. Why this matters. 2 early pathways, 1 big decision before O-levels. Yeah, for those of you with kids who are entering the secondary school system, you know the name has changed, right? The name has changed. From next year onward, you are going to have the SEC exam right now. So right now it's still called O-levels. So this is practically last year we were going to call it O-levels, okay? Now 2 pathways, 1 decision. DSA-JC and Poly EAE both let Sec 4 students apply before O-level results. So it's something like your DSA secondary. For those of you who actually tried applying last time, it's the same. Before your PSLE, you apply, okay? So if you get, great. If you don't get, no problem. So again, I want to stress this point, because they are rather selective, and some of it is pretty much luck. This is what I dare to say, unless you're really, really good. What do I mean by really, really good? Let's say you are a sportsman, you are the school netball captain, and you played netball very, very well, and you have the medals and trophies to prove it. Then the chances of you getting in are pretty high. Okay, but other than that, because you know why? When it comes to sports, it is very objective in the sense. Do you agree? I am better player than you means I'm a better player than you. I swim faster than you means I swim faster than you. There is no ambiguity, correct? So a person like me, I'm not a good sportsman. So do you think I can apply for sports? No. If I play table tennis, finish. A good table tennis player will whack me 21-0, 21-0, 21-0. People think that, oh, it's impossible not to get a point. Try playing against good players. You can't handle the serve, it's 0 straight away. You serve across, they whack before the game over. You can literally get 21-0, 21-0, 21-0. And I'm actually not a total beginner in ping pong. I used to think that I was quite good until I played with the really good ones. Okay, so it's literally 21-0. So this kind of thing. So sports, in that sense, is pretty objective to a certain degree, okay? Why I say to a certain degree when it comes to individual sports, like table tennis, badminton, these are individual sports. But when it comes to team sports, it's not so easy, correct? If team sports like football, team sports like basketball, it's not so easy. So again, there's always a relative degree. Yeah, I'm just giving you a broad answer. Anything else, okay, but anything else is pretty, but if let's say you're the top 4 tennis player in the NAG, you are ranked top four, generally the chances are you pretty much get it at this level. This is the reality, okay? So both choosing well requires honest reflection on 3 fits. What do you mean 3 fits? Pathway fit. Will you thrive on the JC academic track? Now, I just want to emphasize this. Is there a difference between the JC and Polytechnic? Yes, the difference is huge. Which one is tougher? I'm not going to deny the fact. JC is way tougher. Full stop. Okay? But does it mean that the Poly is inferior? Not necessarily. I give you an example of a girl. Yeah, she was recently we organized a TEDx event. So because we train many speakers, so whether it's now, present, or in the future, we have many speakers, right? So one of this girl was from Crescent Girls. Okay, this one was Crescent Girls. She was at my stretcher from secondary onwards. So forth. So I helped her because initially, and she told me she had 6 A1s. She had 6 A1s. So and her A1s were all the important A1s. So English, literature, Chinese, and despite being a Tibetan, she's a Tibetan girl, single family, so her father doesn't really know how to speak English, so I was helping her. Okay, so all of this, so it was really a 6-pointer. But she wanted to go to poly because she said that I don't want to study too hard. I said it's fair point, study too hard. So initially she wanted to apply for logistics. I told her, no, you do not apply for logistics, because logistics you don't need a diploma. Okay, we need to be more strategic because your grades are good. So eventually I told her to do a diploma in law and management at Temasek JC, and she did well. So right now she's at SMU Law, so doing well. Okay, SMU Law using the poly route. So times have changed. Okay, so that's why I said so pathway fixed. So whether it's poly hands-on, project based, so poly is definitely more hands-on, 100% confirmed. Whatever you say. Okay, this is a fact, which is why yeah, okay, we will not go into the university pathways now. I just tell you this is a fact, okay? Profile fit. Does your evidence CC awards leadership match the talent call? Yes, of course. You must fit the DSA which you are talking about. If you want to apply for debate, you cannot say, oh yes, I speak a lot. Who do you speak with? I speak with teacher Sarah next door, okay? He trains me in speaking. Every day I have a conversation, you know, it's not going to work, okay? So the reality is that you must have something to prove it. Maybe you're a chairman, maybe you're a distinguished speaker, maybe you want PESA, maybe you're TEDx youth speaker, all these things, then they will fit your profile. Then we got something to talk about. Commitment fit. Okay, commitment fit is important. It's just like your PSLE DSA. If you get the DSA and you accept it, you cannot change your choice. Okay? If you, let's say you accept modern dance for Anderson JC, you cannot say, oh, I think I don't want modern dance, or I'm not pretty bored of it. I want to do break dance instead. Okay, just give me an example. Can we do that? No, we can't. Okay, unless you got an injury, unless you got a serious injury, which and it doesn't enable you to play the sport, then it's possible. Like one of my students in the past, he went into DSA squash, but somewhere along the line, he got injured, spinal injury. Okay, spinal injury, so it hindered his movement. So is it fair to ask the school to release him from DSA squash? Fair. Okay, so he didn't end up in DSA squash, he took another CCA. I think in those circumstances, but obviously he has got to be medically certified. He cannot be my mother's letter or Sarah's letter. Okay, just because Sarah, you like teacher Sarah very much. Are you ready to honor the binding commitment comes with an early offer? Okay, fine, clue. So what is DSA-JC? I'm going to go through both at the same time. So direct school admission to JC allows Sec 4 students to seek admission. This is what I said, talent and aptitude before the O-level results. This is not my definition, MOE. Who can apply? Current Sec 4 students sitting O-levels in 2026. That means the students who are doing O-levels this year. Students with strong academic sports or leadership. So remember, it is or, it is not and. It is not or, it is not and, okay? But obviously, if you want to go to the more competitive JCs, your academic records needs to be competitive. Why? Very simple. Because it's not competitive, you may struggle in the JC. This is a fact. Students are aiming for JC1 or year 5 IP entry. Yes, why I say year 5 entry, let's say you want to go to Hwa Chong, you enter year 5. They don't call it JC, it's year 5 because it's IP, right? Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6. So like those IP related ones, River Valley, Diamond High, you go into year 5. SGI, ACSI, so forth. Okay. So 3 routes into JC1 or year 5. JAE. JE is for like your PSLE posting. In case you don't get in, everybody goes into this J. So it will be the vast majority of students. Okay. DSA-JC, before O-level results, May to August, it starts now, through IP continuation. Okay, so IP continuation, Sec 4, IP students progress to Sec 4 automatically. So it doesn't apply to IP students who are in the system right now. Because let's say you are at Victoria School IP program, you are going to progress to Victoria School goes to Victoria Junior College, right? So you're going to automatically progress there. Okay. Now, what is Poly EAE? The Polytechnic's early admissions exercise. You let students apply for a Poly diploma based on specific aptitudes and interests before O-levels or N-levels. Who can apply? Graduating O-levels. So Singapore citizen, PR, international students. So it also includes international students, okay? Enrolled in government-aided independent schools, final year and IT students. This is all under the legacy system, because under the new system, SEC system, we have G2, G1, G3. So you no longer have IPs, normal academic, and so forth. Okay, which step? Adults. with 2 years of relevant work experience. So those of you who know of some of your friends, some of your seniors who are loitering around, not doing anything, but they got some work experience, they are still eligible for Polytechnic early admission exercise. So it is this one, Poly can, JC cannot. Okay, so 3 routes into Polytechnic joint admission exercise like the A-levels, like the DSA for JC, Poly EAE before O-level results, okay, like what we're discussing here today, and direct admission exercise. Course by course, direct apply year-round window. So this is a little bit unique. So today we're not talking about DAE. DAE is specific. You can just look at this. Right now, we are talking about Poly EAE, vast majority, okay? Now, what is the difference at a glance? The goal, DSA, JC versus DSA EAE, Poly EAE. I just want you to take a look at this. I don't need to talk about every single thing, but it's there, okay? So you go, reserve a place in JC before O-levels, reserve a Poly. So that's the first thing. Apply directly to individual JCs. Now, this is important. There is no centralized system. It's different from your PSLE DSA. Secondary school DSA is a centralized system. So you apply directly to the individual JCs, which also means you're not capped at the number of choices, okay? Clear? Okay, it means you're also not capped. Yeah, up to 3 diploma courses. Now, Poly is a little bit different. You have a central portal. So it's central portal for Poly. Okay, central portal for Poly. So you got to go through that. Up to 3 diploma per central portal. Selected on aptitude at same thing, course specific. Why Poly is course specific? Very simple, because it is a diploma in a particular domain, right? Diploma in music, diploma in nursing, diploma in electrical engineering, diploma in AI, and so forth. So it is a very specific diploma. That's why it's course specific. So obviously, like coming back to the Poly student I was telling you about, who happened to be the best TEDx speaker, fantastic speaker. Like we have all the top speakers in the TEDx event, some of the more competitive, winning all they were no match for the Tibetan girl. For me, she was easily by far the best by a considerable distance. Okay. So even though she doesn't have speech training, she doesn't have, obviously she had some speech training because I was a teacher. I was her teacher. But other than that, none. Okay. Selection tasks. Yeah. So selection tasks generally is the interview important. Interview plays a part, but it is not going to be the main part if it is performance-based or sports-based. So what do I mean performance-based? Let's say you are applying through ballet. The most important thing is your ballet skills, right? How you speak, not so critical. If you are top 2 tennis player in the whole of secondary, you're in. How good you play tennis is more important than how fast your mouth speaks. So this is the reality. Anything to do with sports performance-based, the most important criteria is your performance, your audition, the sports trial. Okay, this is the most important thing. Your interview serves to just Q&A on this. It is still important, but not the determining factor. You can be the best speaker in Singapore. Oh yes, I am really good in sports. I can speak very well. Thank you very much. But I play table tennis 21-0, 21-0, 21-0. So it's not going to work. So clear? So we need to be careful because there are many people who say the interview is really important. No, it depends on what you're applying under. If you're applying under leadership, if you're applying under speaking, if you're applying under some non-sports and non-performance, yes, then it becomes a little bit more important. Okay. So for offer type conditional on JC. So just like your PSLE is conditional, that means you just need to meet the JC qualifying score. You don't need to meet for the specific JC, but the JC qualifying score. Okay. Conditional on meeting the course. What is MER? Minimum entry requirements. Okay, so there are minimum. Let's say you want to do engineering, you obviously need to, if you want to do a diploma engineering in Polytechnic, you have to do mathematics, right? And you have got to do a certain score. If I do mathematics and I get F9, it's not going to work because I failed the minimum entry requirements. Okay. If you accept binding means you cannot change. So binding agreement is a legal agreement. Can I use JEE for the academy? Just like your PSLE DSA, once I accept the DSA, I'm given the place. You realize that even if I try to apply after my PSLE results, cannot. It's all grayed out. Do you understand? Once you accept, this option is off for you, binding for the Polytechnic, of course. Okay, both pathways are competitive. Apply where evidence and the fit are stronger. There's no one fixed rule, okay? 20% of poly intake admitted through Poly EAE, 20%. Again, not my statistics, official news statistics. Diploma, if you can apply to Poly EAE. JCs, MOE recommends, but there's no formal cap, recommends. Okay? But recommends, but we need to be realistic because this year is important year. We should focus more on our O level. We don't want to apply for all 5 or 6 JCs, but it's really your choice. Okay? If you want to apply, that's fine. But you shouldn't be spending too much time on it. Clear? Clear? So that's why MOE recommends. Again, I repeat, it's just a recommendation. There's no formal cap. Why no more formal cap? Because there's no portal. Do you understand? There's no portal. You can apply to any JC you want, which is why before the MOE portal, I had one student, according to King, he was also one of the TEDx speakers, now a law student at SMU. He has 6 DSA offers, primary, secondary school, 6. RI, Hwa Chong, RI, Hwa Chong, ACSI, Victoria School, Dunman High, and SJI. Yeah, I know because I was done helping him for all the interviews because we need to change our interview strategy. Yeah. DSA intake as specialized schools possible at NUS High, 100%. Okay, yes. The timelines. Now everybody needs to look at the timelines. 5th May started already. Today we're on 7. Explore and apply directly per JC. Each school sets its own deadline, so it's important to bear that. So you want to go to the JC, make sure you go to look at the JC. Poly EAE, 1st to 28 June, not started yet. Okay, adult applicants window. That's for adult applicants window. 29. So you can look at this table. Choose shortlist, select phase 1. I want to talk about phase 1 in a short. Yeah, so it's a very, very important misconception. The phases are invisible to you. But let's call it just phase 1. Okay. Like a reserve list. Okay, just phase says, but suddenly Sarah is giving everything up because Bollywood actually made a real offer. He said, bye-bye Singapore, I'm going to join Shah Rukh Khan, take over his place. He goes to India. And right now, one place now appears. And if I'm next on the line, I enter at phase 2. Clear? So it's something like reserve list, or subsequent applications, your results improve, they may consider. So everybody needs to be clear on this. So it's not something which there is a distinct phase 1 or phase 2. That means it's the ultimate already. Phase 2 accepted readers. That means, but everything, September, we have to conclude, finish. Okay, clear? We have to conclude, the whole process will complete by September. It cannot last longer than that because we need to focus on our O levels. Same thing for the poly. So in other words, your interviews and everything, selection would generally occur in June, July, and August. Generally, it's seldom in August because August is quite near your O levels already. Sometimes early August, but nothing beyond that. Okay, fine, cool. Clear about this? Any questions at this point in time? Any questions at this point in time? Okay, let's go on. Phase 1 main round. This is what I'm trying to. You apply once, the school decides. And this is not applicable to all JCs now. I want to repeat. Only certain JCs. Okay. Phase 1 main round, late June to mid-August. School shortlist applicants, run trials, events, issue phase 1 offers. Okay, who gets offers? The one who is the most tokong. The one who they really want. Clear, strong fit candidates the school is confident about. Sure. So last year, I just tell you, I'm just trying to tell you, last year we had a Tanjung Katong Girls' School. Very fantastic results. 10 A1s. 10 A1s for O levels. So all straight A1s. But did she depend on 10 A1s to get into RI? No. Because she already got the DSA RI through singing, through choir. Okay. We had another student from Cedar Girls O levels, the school netball captain, and so forth. And this girl is a little bit unique because when she was in primary school, she got 3 DSA offers. She got RGS DSA offers, she got Nanyang Girls, and she got Nanqiao, but she didn't accept any one of them. She went to Cedar Girls. Okay, O levels. Okay, but right now she has decided to because she was a school netball captain and she did very well for netball in a lot of things. And so was the interview? Yeah, she also came to us for the interview because skills is more important. After the interview, we also help in many things. She got the place, so she's in JC. Okay, so strength. So these are all the phase one. Strong clear. You're in if you want it. Phase two, second round. Second round is something like me one on the reserve list after Sarah. You see, Sarah phase one offers decline. Sarah in this case going to India, real Bollywood. Schools have remaining vacancies, issue phase two offers. Who gets the offer? Candidates wants to consider after the main round classes. A second chance if there's room. Clear? So don't be confused, but this is a very common misconception. Do all JCs have this phase two? No. It really depends. If all the places all taken up, no more. Nobody rejects, no more. Okay? So important thing students must know, and parents here, no separate application. You apply once schools decide on the phase. Accepting is binding. Phase one acceptance is no phase two, no JE. Okay, once accept, you're down. Not all schools run phase two. This is what I'm trying to say. Okay, cool? Cool, huh? Sarah, at this point, are there any questions in the chat group which we need to address?
I'm addressing them already lah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, how do applications work? Each JC runs its own application process. The same thing like the DSA secondary, the schools will run the individual ones. Okay, you apply directly on each school. So the only difference between secondary, DSA secondary, and JC is that you apply directly using the information on each school's website. Okay, shortlist your JC, browse the JC websites for talent areas, programs, deadlines. MOE recommends 1 to 2 schools. That's what I'm trying to say here. So again, I emphasize MOE recommends. Why recommends 1 to 2 schools? They don't want you to spend a lot of time applying everything and neglect your O levels. Not very smart move, which I totally agree. Okay, so apply directly, submit individual application forms on each JC's website by their stated deadline. This is important. Individual, phase one selection, auditions, trials, written tasks, interviews. Written tasks and trials, interviews depends on what you apply to, correct? So written tasks would probably only be applicable for the non-sporting, non-performance arts events. Okay, interviews held in July. Receive offer. Phase one offer is conditional upon JC score. Confirm you accept it. Cannot reapply. Sit O levels. Okay. The spot is reserved. You cannot reapply to JAE. Don't worry. We have all the FAQs later. Now, lots of Poly. How do Poly applications work? All 5 Polytechnic share one central portal. So I really take a look at the central portal there. EAE polytechnic.edu.sg. One central. So it's something like MOE central portal for DSA secondary. Okay. Right, you choose your course, browse all 5 poly courses, pick up 3 diploma maximum. So it's something like the PSLE, DSA secondary. You apply online, you write up. What write up to provide depends on what is required. So very important to look at what is required. That's why you have to go to the individual school, individual JC, individual poly. Selection tasks, interviews, aptitude tests, group activities, portfolio review, or condition offers. So same thing, meet minimum entry requirements, MER. Okay, cool. Any questions? So it's generally the same. It's just different institution. Okay, generally the same, different institution. Poly, centralized portal. JC, individual. Okay, but the process more or less is the same. How to read a JC DSA page? I'm just giving you an example. Work example, National Junior College. Okay, this page is there. Okay. Later work example. This is, but everything is here already. You have this slide, so don't need to copy or take photo. But I'm just giving you one example. So this is one example. You go to the JC DSA page. How you read it? National JC. You look at the website, which I gave you, right? Admissions JC. Obviously now I put it nicely for you lah. Okay, we put it nicely for you. You don't see it like all these things nicely. Now I format everything nicely so that everybody is clear. The steps are very clear, right? DSA National College based a year, so eligibility talent academic. So it's very clear they only have certain areas, not everything. You realize? Not everything is even sports or sports. Yeah. So academic, STEM, humanities, sports, performing arts, visual arts, debate, leadership, bilingualism. Right? Application opens on 5th May. It's just like everybody, selection, attitude, program, submission. Okay. Contact for queries. What to expect? Confirm the talent area which you apply is offered. You want NJC. You really want, let's say you want leadership, you must go in check to see whether it's really there or not. And if there, what are the requirements? Note the deadline, most important. deadline over, sorry. Identify the selection format, most important. Different JC, different poly, different selection format. It's not one size fits all one. For instance, bilingualism, some of the JCs or some of the secondary schools even they ask you to translate a song. Okay, from English to Chinese. Others ask you to interpret a poem and say it out in English, a Chinese literary poem. So it depends. Okay, and some other ask you to write. But these tasks have now, because of internet, because of AI, all these things are a bit amorphous. Okay, so confirm the TLA, note the deadline, identify selection format, read the program detail. It tells you the school's character. You have to know the JC, whatever the Polytechnic. Make sure you know more about the JC, its identity, its culture, its logo, its motto. Don't worry about this. All these things, when it comes to the interview, we're having a separate distinctive seminar because that is another big chunk by itself. Bookmark every JC DSA page. You should reread the day before admission. Don't submit the wrong details. Okay, I think this has happened before. I give you example like last time the students, some of my students, they were applying to. I'm just giving, these are real examples. They were applying to ACSI. So ACSI asked, what is the motto of ACSI? They mentioned Auspicio Meliori AV. This is a big mistake. Auspicio Meliori AV is the motto for RI. So at ACSI, you mentioned the RI motto. It really doesn't look good at all. So make sure that you know all this stuff, okay? So this is another example, Anderson's Rangoon JC. This gives you, because now you see now it's different. They don't have debating, but they're public speaking. You realize? Okay, so all schools are different. So you look at NJC. NJC has a bit more. They got performing arts, visual arts. Here they say visual arts, sports and games, but they don't have STEM, right? They don't have STEM. They don't have bilingualism. So all things are different. So leadership and service, public speaking, there's no debate. So same thing, same 5 sections apply. Use the framework any school. So what to expect? The same 5 sections apply. That means in every JC, you're going to see this, right? Mainstream JCs offer, then this is a fact. Okay, so what we mean by mainstream JCs, that means we are talking about the non-IP JC. So NJC is the IP JC. Anderson's Rangoon is not an IP JC, so it's considered a mainstream JC. Okay, so but selection is still as rigorous. Make no mistake, it's still as rigorous. Okay, still as rigorous. Subject combinations matter. Yes, of course it matters because depends on the niche offerings. So everything, but don't worry too much about this. Just if you want to apply, just try. If you get it, great. If you don't get it, don't worry. Okay, you don't worry. But if you don't apply, you never have a chance. So my point is that don't waste too much time. I think if for those of you interested in applying because you've got a good profile, good fit, I think you should just try and apply. Okay, polite email queries are useful sentences. Cool. Let's talk about Poly. What example? A Neon Poly diploma in applied AI and analytics. This is the tech course. So course code and minimum entry requirements. So it is written there exactly the minimum entry requirements. And this is the basic thing you should have to meet after you get the O-level results. Clear? So if you get the DSA and you accept the Poly and you don't meet the minimum entry requirements, what happens? Okay, we'll talk about that in the FAQ later. What you will study? Python, machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, NLP. I'm just doing this, giving you an example. Okay, EAE selection criteria, sport specific, and this will be important, right? Because it's practical, hands-on. So all these things, the Poly will, all the courses will probably be, and if you want to be competitive, you should always, but right now is not the time because you're all studying for O-levels, right? But if you're past internship or industry, that will also be cool. Okay, career articulation, so forth. So what to expect? MER first. So very simple. If your forecast is far from the bar, what do you mean by forecast? Let's say you need to get a B3 for mathematics. Okay, but right now your mathematics, I'm just giving you a drastic example, is F9. Can we still get B3? Yes, you can still happen. Okay, it doesn't mean. So this is just a general, you must know yourself. Because we do have students, F9 in chemistry, F9 in mathematics, then O-levels, they end up with A2. Then we give them the best progress awards. So these are realistic. Okay, but you know yourself. So there is, when I say drop the course, it's unless it's totally unrealistic. Okay, but if you think that you work hard, you can make a change, then I think there's no harm to do it. Module list shows what you really do in 3 years. That's the fit. So it's very important because Poly is more hands-on, more industrial style, which is different from JC. JC is a lot of academic rigor. I use the word academic rigor. Poly is less intensive to study 100%, okay? Because it's more practical-based questions across all levels. And courses are priced a real profit over points. AI courses price a real profit. At the end of the day, real courses means real work. You do real work, nothing is going to stay. You can talk all you want, but you don't get a project to show for it. You don't get the what you've done to show for it. Then your chances would diminish. Okay. Second course in diploma studies. Diploma studies are very competitive courses generally. So Ngee Polytechnic. So different schools have different specializations. Business and accounting, the so-called the most competitive business and accounting faculty is in Ngee Polytechnic. Why? Because Ngee Polytechnic started off as a business school. Okay, Singapore Polytechnic started off as a engineering school. So some of them has that distinct track record. So this is the reality. But at the end of the day, for me, it really doesn't matter which poly you go to. What matters is what you do in the poly. Because the poly name can only do so far. This is just like the JC name can only do so far. Right? It's what you do in the school, what you do in the poly that really matters. So again, these are some of the things which you do. Okay. So this again are general areas apply where your evidence is strongest. Each JC defines its own focus areas. Academic, sports, performing arts, visual arts. I'm just giving you an overall view of what is generally in the DSA, JC talent areas. Okay, cool. Poly EAE, course families, engineering, IT. So you realize that this, you realize what has happened, you realize what has happened, these are still more like, these are more like student type of, you look at the DSA, it's more like student type of events, right? Student type of the things which we're always familiar with, academic, sports, performing arts, visual arts, debate, whether it's primary or secondary, it's still the same, right? And JC is pretty much the same. So you must know the shift, I see, But once you go to Poly, the shift is now changed. It is now no longer like what you see in the JC or secondary school. It's now like industry-based domains already. Engineering and IT, health and life sciences, business and communications, design, media, built environment, applied sciences, and so forth. Okay, cool. So course families, just general. So hundreds of diploma courses across 5 polys apply by demonstrating interest and aptitude in the course, not the school. So apply by the course, not by the school. Look at what you're interested in, then apply. This is the very choosing the pathway. JC academic track or poly hands-on track. Okay. At this point in time, Sarah, any questions we should tackle live for everybody?
I think most of them are asking about the leadership DSA, like what is required. Yeah.
Okay, Ken, we will talk about leadership DSA later, okay? Maybe we can use we will go into a specific JC, then we look at it. So that's why I want to get these basic things off first, then we lose some life extraction so that you see, because it really differs from JC to JC, okay? Choosing the pathway, junior college. So I want to get all these things because these are pretty fundamental and we need to get this right, okay? So junior college versus polytechnic, because times have changed. I repeat, times have changed, okay? So a junior college, I'm giving you a real example right now. Maybe I should ask the student, okay? Now, I'm giving you a real example so that you understand how different it is. For those of you who know me, you know that I came as an RI scholar way back in 1988, right? So I've been around like, close to 40 years, to 2026. I've been around for 38 years, okay, in Singapore. But there's a reason why. So among my RI scholar mates who came in is my very good friend, okay, somebody called, and he's unique. Why is he unique? He has triplets. Triplets, they're all my special students, okay, triplets. So he was my classmate, he was my JC mate, and so forth. Right now, even then, we go to various places together. Okay. Now you see what happened? He has triplets. Why I say triplets is perfect example of the diverging paths. Triplets, all of them took PSLE the same year, but you see the roots for all three are different. One, so three kids, two girls and one boy. Okay, so listen carefully. The eldest one at that time was not the most academically inclined, which is why I always say that different people have different inclinations, right? So not academically inclined. So whereas the second and third were more academically inclined at that point in time. So what happened in the PSLE results? The eldest kid, the results were relatively not so competitive. She ended up at Nanhua Secondary. The boy ended up in RI, okay, IP school. The girl ended up in NJC, IP school as well. So you see, so two of his kids, IP, one SAP, Nanhua. Now you see what happened. So obviously the RI and the NJC one did not take O levels because IP school, so they took the AA levels. So the Nanhua girl decided to take the poly route. She got in through the Poly EAE route. Okay, she got in through the Poly EAE route. Now she went to Singapore Poly. See what happened? Singapore Poly, she was number 2 overall in the whole of Singapore Polytechnic. Her results are all very good. It was so good that the Singapore Poly gave her a scholarship to study in NUS. It's not NUS giving her, it's Singapore Poly giving her a scholarship. So right now she's doing very well. She got the course she wanted. She got a very competitive course based on her good performance. Whereas the RI and the NJC one didn't do well at A levels, which is pretty common. So ended up they entered courses which they never wanted, but they don't have a choice. Do you understand? So times have changed. So that's why we need to be clear which path is for everybody. It's not a second class, whichever is more convenient. Whatever suits you better. That's why I want to talk about it. Examining focus, content AB, absolutely important. Specialized early chosen field. So there is some difference. I won't go through this, but just view it as Polytechnic more industrial hands-on base. Junior college more academic, 100%. Which is easier to study? Polytechnic, 100%. More difficult? JC, 100%. Which one should you go to? Up to you. I can't say anything. Okay, I can't say anything. But I want to tell you this, JC and secondary school, the leap is very, very huge. Very, very huge. Of the most difficult change you're going to have is the leap from Sec 4 to JC. The leap is huge. Okay. So post-secondary pathways at a glance. I'm just giving you some screws. See, I'm giving you all the GCs here already. So I put nicely everything for you so that it's easy for you to understand. Mainstream JCs, Anglo-Chinese, so forth, and then you go through list. IP-linked JCs, so forth. IB program schools, ACSI, SGI, School of Arts, so forth, specialized school. Fine. So these are the pathways at a glance. Everything is quite comprehensive already. Polytechnics at a glance. So you realize that they have some certain niche. Why? Because they started differently. Okay, started differently. But you see, a course like Temasek Poly, Law and Management, you only can find in Temasek Poly. So if you want to have to get a chance at studying law, then you got to go through that Law and Management program, which is why I diverted the girl, Tenzin Dhaka, that's the name, to study Law and Management. Then eventually, because she did well in the Polytechnic, she got a place at SMU Law. SMU Law, obviously, you still need to go for interview and so forth. Okay, so you realize that a little bit different. Oldest Poly is Singapore Poly. Second is Ngee Poly. So as the new polys come up, Republic Poly is the latest. So they try to differentiate themselves by problem-based learning and so forth, Okay, cool. So Temasek Poly, Law and Management as well. Choosing the right pathway. So okay, I'm just giving you, these are generalizations only. It's not a fact. Do you enjoy reading, writing, exam style learning? JC, yes, totally. Okay. Do you learn best at building, prototyping, and doing real projects? Lean Poly. Correct? Cool. Okay. Are you aiming for research master at law university course? Lean JC. But it's not lean. It doesn't mean that it's absolute. I want to be clear here. Are you clear in the industry or domain you want to work in? If you're very clear, you go. But many people do not know. Because the problem with going into something which you're not familiar is that you may be stuck with it. Okay? Whereas JC is open, right? Do you enjoy depth across many subjects? Lean JC. Okay, so you realize that anything to do with more academic rigor, you lean JC. Anything to do with more hands-on, real-world applications, you lean Poly. But this again is a general rule. It's a general. It doesn't mean it's true for everybody. So you have got to know your learning style. You've got to know your inclinations. Okay, cool. Because this can overlap. I want to repeat first. This can also overlap, right? Application portfolio and personal statements. Some parents ask me what personal statements. It really depends on what the JC wants you to do. If they don't say anything, then we can do a lot of things. Okay, but let's talk about it first. What schools and polys actually want to see? A profile is a story. As I always tell you, we got to build our profile, whatever things we do. It's not a trophy dump so that you got a trophy all the way. I got many, when I see many DSAs for secondary, they said, wow, what do you call it? A Bacchus gold medal, primary 1, primary 2, primary 3, a Bacchus gold medal. I said, take it out. Okay, nobody is interested in the DSA abacus for primary 1, primary 2, and primary 3 because it's not relevant to the course you're applying. And number 2, you got nothing else, so you want to focus on the abacus. That's also the wrong strategy. Okay, so academic, CCA records, leadership, service, special talents, external achievements. We will take a look at leadership later when some of you ask, because I want to take a look at. Just now you saw Anderson has a leadership, right? Leadership. NJC has leadership as well. We will go through and see exactly what they are looking at. The personal statement. Most polys kept each writer at 100. Most JCs ask, treat it as a story, not a CV. Yeah. So if they give it general, then this is just some recommendation, right? About something specific, a moment, a project, a turning point. Not, I'm a passionate student. We hear these interviews all the time. Evidence, cite real activities, real years, real outcomes. One example, one strong example beats 5 vague ones. Reflection, show what you have learned, not what you did. That's the most important distinction. What you did, everybody can say what they did, but what they've learned is what differentiates you from me, right? So just for instance, after today, when I've conducted, I would say that I've conducted a webinar on DSA-JC Poly EAE, right? This is what I did, but what I learned is different. What I learned is that maybe, I just give example, right now I cannot see the audience, but assuming I get all the audience, then I have an idea, oh, maybe I should have done this better. I think when it comes to such webinars, maybe I should speak a little bit slower, maybe. Okay, so these are all the things which I learned and I will improve the next time I like. So it's always important, the learning process. Everybody must learn, okay, whatever the level. So even right now, today, I'm 54 years old, we are still learning, okay? Learning technically never stops. Hook, evidence, reflection, fit. Why this course? Why this JC? Now, in general, I'm just giving you a simple interview tip, okay? Because I have done many interviews. I've trained many people in interviews. And when I was in finance, I was working at all those big international firms. And because I was doing well, I also have responsibility to recruit my own team, right? So I recruit many of the top grads as well, depending on what I lose for, right? So at the end of the day, it's always like that. Generally, whatever things you do, interview at all levels, we must focus on 3 things. I give you 3 general rules. Interview things which everybody must know. Even parents and adults, this will be most useful. Number 1, whether it's scholarship, whether it's this school or that school, is always the first rule is tell me a little bit about yourself. Okay, so you can come in many different ways. I won't go into that, but generally, you want to know a little bit of yourself. Yes, you have it on your resume, but if I ask you to tell me about yourself in 20 seconds or use 4 adjectives, 3 adjectives, we must be able to do that, right? Condense everything. That's number 1. We want to know who you are really as a person, not what you have on your resume. That's number 1. We need to know about you. Tell us about yourself. Second, tell us why we should choose you. Okay, tell us why the school should take you in. Tell us why we should offer you this job. Tell us why we should give you this scholarship. Okay, these are all common questions. So That means it is a case of your strengths, your who you are, what you offer. Okay, tell me what should. Then next one, tell us what you can do, right? So generally, everybody must prepare for this. Right? Tell me about yourself. Tell me why you want to join us. Tell me why you want to join this company. Tell us why you want to join this JC. Tell us why you want to join this Polytechnic. Tell us why you want to join this industry, right? So just tell us. Then the next one is what are your skill sets? What are your domains which make you a good fit, right? So tell us why we should take you in. Okay, tell us what you offer. Tell us why we should take you in. So all these things, general things, okay, which everybody must also fit. Why this course or this JC? Show that you read about the program, be specific about it. So I'm just giving you an example. Use it to study the structure. Okay, just the general ideas. Okay, so it really depends on the word count. So I'm giving you an example because some parents are asking me, I'm just giving them a general example only. Okay, so my fascination with mathematics began in Sec 1 when I first encountered Olympiad style problems that made me think rather than compute, made me want to think rather than compute. Now, I repeat, speaking is very important. You see, when I speak, you realize that I'm confident, but was I always this way? No. Am I a product of RI? No. If you're a product of RI, you generally will not be able to speak because we are not trained to speak. But I was a late developer. That means I trained myself to speak when I was an adult because I never had a chance when I was in secondary school in JC. And I remember my RI teacher told me, Alvin, you can never become a good speaker, which is a tragic statement. If I believe that statement, finish. Okay, so you realize that the more you do, the better you become. Does speaking matter? Yes. It was also the reason why my interview success rate is 100%. Okay, 100%. As long as you give me a chance to interview, chances are that I will get it. Okay, so my fascination with mathematics, I am a member of my school's Maths Olympiad training program. Over 3 years, I have represented the school, so forth. Reflection. So this is important. This is what matters more, not just what you did, but what you learned. Now, what I value most is not the medals, but the discipline of struggling with power because it shows who you are. Okay, some resilience built in, some determination, courage in the face of adversity, and so forth. So I started a peer theory called Math Bridge, helping 6 classmates through trigonometry, so forth. I'm drawn. So again, fit. So use this example which I gave you, then you got a better idea of what to talk about, right? I'm drawn to Hwa Chong because of the history mathematics offering and the science and maths talent program, which will let me pursue a research in number theory, an area which I've begun reading about through Hardy's apology. And these are pretty interesting because if you do not know, it shows that if you do not know about Hardy's apology, so let me give a simple example. Even if I'm a Hwa Chong teacher and I read this, my tendency is that I want to find out what Hardy's apology is. And when I find, oh, I said this boy, he's really interested in this, okay, because he had to do with mathematics, right? So I'm also too keen. So you're putting your own story into the personal statement, everything. So what works? Specific quote, real evidence, reflection on struggles, specific fit, closes with a teach back moment. Okay, cool. I'm keen. You see, I'm keen to contribute to the senior Olympiad coaching team. What is known for? You see, you want to contribute to the school your ways. So you should take me in because I'm really passionate about something. About what? Very specific to the talent domain. And after you take me in, what can I do for your school? Everything is about symbiotic relationship, right? You help me, I help you. All right. Abraham Lincoln's famous statement. Was it Abraham Lincoln? Yes. Was it Abraham Lincoln? No. J.F. Kennedy. Ask not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Correct? Okay. Cool. Sample Poly write-up. Same. Near Polytechnic, I want to make terms that change how people view the things. I'll give you one example. I have a friend. I have a friend. Now this friend is this guy is a senior position. So he used to be, Economic Development Board, the body which runs Singapore economic development, right? Very important government body. He used to be the EDB head of China. EDB head of China for 10, 20 years. It was based in China. So anything to do with who's who in China, the Singapore government comes through him because he's connected with all the important businessmen in China. You see, the reason why I'm bringing you this story is because I want to talk about his son. Okay? He and his wife always wanted the son to be a doctor and lawyer. But let me tell you, to be very frank, doctor and lawyer was maybe sexy 20 years ago. Okay, it's no longer so sexy now. So if you want to be doctor and lawyer, make sure that you really like it. It's no longer so sexy. Why? Because there are many other things we can do. Times have really changed, okay? But traditional thinking, I totally understand. So you see what happened, and the parents were pretty disappointed because okay, the kid was at learning lab. The kid was at learning lab, but the results were pretty bad. Okay, the results were pretty bad, which I told him is okay. It's okay because the father came to sign me for advice, asked me whether I want to appeal because I want to get my son to go into so which school he went to a so-called less competitive school in Toa Payoh, but his father wanted to try to push him to Catholic High, and the why. But I told him, why do you want to force him to do something which is not really interested? And I told him very frankly, because I know the son, even though he's not a mature, I know the son, I know what he does because occasionally they come and see me for advice, so I know exactly what he does. Okay, because they ask me because I'm an entrepreneur, so they ask the kid would actually come and ask me for advice, and I found that this kid was really entrepreneurial. You know, in Sec 1, what did he do? He actually exampled a video crew, only Sec 1. And what did he do? He make videos. And right now, this was like 8 years ago. It's not like your handphone's now very advanced, okay? So he made all the interesting videos. And what did he do? So he made interesting videos of Samsung, Sony, and he would send these videos to Samsung, you know? He said that, dear Samsung, I just made a video advertising your product. If you're happy with my video, please give me a Samsung radio. Please give me a Samsung handphone. And guess what? They gave. So I told you, so I told the father, your son is a little bit different. Your son next time can become the next George Lucas, can become the next big time director. Why do you want to become everything? You cannot force him. And true enough, right now the son is in university right now, NUS, but very entrepreneurial. So we should never stifle people, okay? So I say that they are different. So if he wants to do video and filming, and this is what he likes to do, and he gets a lot of chance to speak, interact with people, nobody taught him, by all means, go ahead. Okay, the reason why I'm bringing this because this diploma in film, sound, and video. Okay, my short documentary. So this is talking about something, some production. Okay, you can use this template. You can use template depending on a number of words. Okay, so evidence, some template, reflection, MP sound diploma. So you realize that everything is about a hook, a clear creative hook. Verified. You want to make sure that it stands out very clearly. Verified evidence. It must be something we should have done it, didn't that it becomes your personal story. Honest reflection, admit the weakness, see how you can become better over it, cause specific sounds, sound design, and distinct closing line. I want to graduate with a body of work that can stand on its own. And I am applying for nothing else. I'm sure that I'm very die. I want to get in. Okay. I have seen some last time that's why sometimes I need to respect some of my seniors. I remember when I was staying in Hwa Chong hostel, I had a senior from my small hometown, Batu Pahat. This guy was a good student, but he can't really speak very well, but academically very good. So he was at NJC. He also came in as a scholar in JC. He was my senior by 2 years. You know what he put for his university application course in Singapore? Very, very brave. He put his first to 6th choice. This was like a long time ago. This was as I mentioned, times have changed. This was 30 over years ago. You know what he put? I was pretty stunned by what he put. He put university got all 6 choices. All 6, he put medicine. Medicine. It's all or nothing. In poker, all in. Okay, all in. Did they give it to him? And he was a Malaysian. Malaysian has this disadvantage because Malaysian, you're not considered as a Singaporean. But if an ASEAN scholar is different, you're considered a Singaporean, okay? So, but they gave it to him, okay? Because I think they could see his determination was all or nothing, like this. I'm just giving an idea. It doesn't mean that you be like him. The reason why he dares to do this is very simple. Because he already has a scholarship to study medicine and in Australia. Australia University gave him a scholarship, so obviously he can do this. Do you understand? If not, you are in dangerous ground. So he has a backup plan, no problem, but he really wants to study medical school in NUS. So NUS, you better give me. If not, I go to Australia. Fine. Okay, but most of us are not in this scenario. So I'm just giving you a drastic example, but this statement, I want to graduate, I am applying for nothing else, which is also a great statement if you're really determined, right? So 3-tier application strategy, think about it. Spread your 2 JC courses smartly. We don't want to put all in tier 1, okay? Because sometimes it's tough. Tier 1, aspirational, where you got genuine evidence, worth a shot, not guaranteed. Tier 2, strong fit. So we don't want to put all in tier 1. Then you lose the ability. This is just some strategy. It's not a fixed rule, strong fit, but it's just how we teach students to choose, especially when they got limited choices. Okay, basic ambition, realistic fit, what is the best? Okay, so tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, you can take a look at it yourself. What they look for beyond grades, aptitude, track record, potential was what the government introduced last year. In case you have not read the news, the government said that you must look for potential, not just your trophies. And DSA is under consideration again by the Ministry of Education. So there is bound to be changes coming soon, okay? Because they're specifically looking at DSA pathways to make it more holistic, I would say, okay? But it's anybody's guess, okay? So aptitude, track record, potential, character, fit, and voice. You must sound like you. Very important, as I always tell teachers, because sometimes they want to crack my same type of jokes. But I say you cannot crack the jokes which I give because I am not you. You are not me. And my style is a crappy style, so it's fine. So I can crack a joke and it can work, but you crack it in my voice is not going to work. So it's very important to be authentic. Very important. You are you. I am me. Sarah is Sarah. I want to be like Sarah. Shah Rukh Khan cannot because I just don't have it. No problem. I'm at peace. Okay. So very important. So we don't try to imitate or be like somebody else. Interviews and section tasks. Okay, before we come to this is just general. I'll talk about more. I'll give you more models and time to come because I want to show you examples right now. General questions: why this JC same? Why this JC? Why this? Tell us about yourself. What are your strengths? How to cope pressure? These are all general. Whether it comes out or not, it depends. And I want to tell you this: talent base is important because if you're going for science, if you're going for music, these questions will be geared towards the music, towards the science, towards the badminton. Okay, clear? So I'm just giving you general, but general, we still have to talk about it. Talent-based, school fit, so forth, so forth. Poly selection task, interview, aptitude test, portfolio review, group task, practice, written assignment. Again, depends by poly. Again, depends by course. So each course defines its own selection task, common formats. Okay, it varies from poly to poly, but this is just to give you an idea. I would say that please don't waste too much time doing all these things unless if you are not so ready with your studies because it's good, just get it done. It doesn't need to be perfect, just submit. Okay, cool. Okay, how to answer per framework? This is just as the point, evidence, reflection, fit. Just like what we did just now, point, evidence, reflection, fit. Okay, example, I'm applying for a diploma in UX design because I really enjoy designing things people can actually use. So this is the example below. You can read it in your own time. I'm just showing you how to answer this sort of questions. Okay, this sort of questions depending on the task which is at hand. Mistakes that weaken applications, applying only to brand name JCs without genuine fit. I think it is important, right? I always say, the school, you may think that the school sounds nice, but ultimately it's what you do in the school that matters. So for instance, you may be from Timbuktu Junior College, but I get 3 A's. I can be in RI, I get 3 C's. Is it unusual? No. If you think that getting 3 C's in RI is not possible, welcome. You find that it is entirely possible and rather common for A levels. This is what you don't see only. Okay, so yeah. So applying this is so I always say that what is what you do that matters, right? Writing the personal statement as a CV. Personal statement is not a CV. Personal statement is your own story. It's not a CV. You don't say I'm highly passionate. Okay, I gave you some examples already, right? Choosing a poly course because the poly is famous, not because then this is wrong. People will say, oh, to give you an example, oh, I want to go, and this is very common for university. I've seen so many cases. I want to go to NUS because NUS is the most prestigious. Then I say, what course are you doing there? Oh, I'm doing this course. I say, why are you doing this course? You cannot find a job. But I say, then the student will tell me, this was RGS girl, and told me this was RGS girl who got in because I helped her get into RGS through English DSA. In that year, only 2. She was one of the 2. But if at university level, I had to change the course. So eventually I told her, no, you do business and finance and law, and not law, and economics at SMU. That will give you a better. Now she's doing very well. Okay. So no, she told me I chose NUS because NUS is the most prestigious. I said you got it all wrong. Okay, so it's the same thing like choosing a poly because the poly is famous, not because of the cost. Very important. You may say, oh, I want to go to Singapore Poly because it's the oldest. Oldest means most prestigious. Generally, anything which is the oldest has an element of prestige. Harvard is the oldest, Harvard is the oldest university in America, prestigious. Wharton, the oldest business school in the world, prestigious. Raffles Institution, the oldest school in Singapore, prestigious. University of Malaya, the oldest university in Malaya, prestigious. Cambridge University, the oldest university in the world, prestigious. Okay, so anything that's older is quite prestigious, except when you're an old person. Alvin Kuek, 54 years old, quite old already. Sorry, it's not prestigious at all. Okay, so these are the things to consider. Right, choosing a poly course because the poly says stopping O-level revision. No. This is a common mistake. Chill already. I got to relax already. I finished DSA. Shoot, it can take off some stress, yes, but it doesn't mean that you let go. We try to do the best as well. Clear? Listing every certificate of Sec 1, no, strongest 5, okay? We need to be strategic, letting parents drive the interview. At the end of the day, it is the student who is interviewed. That's why I always ask students one thing, when they choose secondary or JC or university. I say that I always do 2 things when I see parents and students. Parents, give me your top 3 choices. Student, give me your top 3 choices. We want to see whether they match. Sometimes they're entirely different, okay? But we need to understand at the end of the day, the student is the one studying. And this was the mistake I made with my youngest brother. That's why I'm speaking from lesson. Last time, as the eldest brother, I decide for them. Eldest brother knows best. Okay, so you better listen to me. Been there, done that. Over time, I realized that this was my biggest mistake. Okay, so I think we need to be aware of that. I think parents being unable to, this is very important. You go to a school, what do you know? I just give an example. In last time, I used to interview people coming for jobs at my structure. So I asked them this question, what do you know about my structure? Simple question. Oh, my structure is a mathematics school. I said, yes, correct. My structure is a mathematics school. So tell me how many branches we have? I think you probably have 5 or 6 branches. I said, thank you very much. What you give very brilliant answers. You see, this shows that they're totally not interested. They don't even bother to find out what my structure is. Does it happen? Happens. Okay, it shows that you're totally not interested. This is the mathematics school. I've come to another one. My structure is a preschool because they confuse my structure with my gems. Happens all the time. Okay. But this for me, if I interview straight away, you're finished. I'll just politely end it in 5-6 minutes as a courtesy interview. Will I take you? No. Because it tells me the attitude sucks big time. Okay. So this is very, very, is this a common mistake? Yes. And there's no excuse right now because you got the internet. Do you agree? You got the internet. In the older days, they don't have internet. Right now, internet, there is really no excuse. Sounding rehearsed. That's why at the end of the day, it's most natural. You must don't need, you can learn the points, but don't try to remember it by heart. That is not natural. Okay. Now this is the FAQ. Listen, FAQ. Before you ask those questions, before I go leadership, FAQ. These are the questions which every parent asks us. So I'm going through right now. Can I apply to DSA, JE, and JE at the same time? Yes. You can see JE if you do not accept or do not receive a DSA offer. Yes, of course, because you apply for DSA-JC now, but you may not know whether you get an offer, correct? If you get an offer, you accept it, then you cannot go for the GAA. But if you don't have, you can do both. Okay, once you accept it, you cannot do. That's number 1. Question 2. What if my O-level results means the JC's bar? The conditional offer is withdrawn. Okay, you get through the withdraw, DSA does not lower the academic bar. So this is clear. Okay, this is clear. Can I apply for DSA, JC, and Poly at the same time? Yes, because they're independent. It's not through centralized portal. JC, independent. Poly, independent. Poly through the centralized portal. JC, individual JCs. Yes. Okay. So it depends on what you want. You can apply for both if you want. But don't waste too much time. Okay. Do my Sec 1 to Sec 3 results count? Yes. JCs look at your full Sec 1 to Sec 4 record, including consistent, progressive conduct, and continuous conduct, not just your final grades. This is important, right? because they do have your O levels, right? So they need a series of results. That's why I say at the end of the day, there must be some consistency. Is DSA-JC only for the top 1%? No, it doesn't. Okay, no, it definitely doesn't. Yep, it requires people with different talents. So I may be good at dancing, I may be good at singing, and my grades may not be so good, and it's fine because it's supposed to be talent domain. Okay, so it rewards specific talent aptitude, not just academic rank. Strong CCA, sports, arts, and leadership workers all count. Do I need a famous CCA? No, you do not need. You do not need. Yeah. And prefects, at the end of the day, they don't really mean anything in the bigger scheme of things, right? You realize that in the bigger scheme of things, does it matter that you're a prefect or not in secondary school? No, it really doesn't matter. But for profile purposes, it helps. It helps, but it's not critical. But if you're head prefect, then it's a little bit more important. The difference becomes a little bit more obvious, okay? Should I apply for DSA if I'm not sure I want JC? No, it's a commitment to the JC pathway. If you're seriously considering Polytechnic, then explore the Polytechnic. I'm just being practical here, yeah? Can I accept DSA first, then switch on JC? No, cannot. This is to prevent people from backing out. Heng Swee introduced this rule, which is correct. In the past, people used to swap. Poly, same framing, real questions, real answers. Will I be considered for multiple courses with one application? 3 courses? Yes. Okay, you choose up the 3 courses, each is reviewed independent, you receive at most 1 conditional offer. So it's a little bit different from the PSLE DSA. Question 2, what are my O-levels? It means the same thing. You must meet the minimum entry requirements. If you're supposed to get B3 for mathematics, you end up with D8, you won't have the offer. It's withdrawn. Okay, how do I prepare for the aptitude course or interview? Start with the course page, go a little bit further, try small, whatever. Okay, I'm not going to go through this videos in great detail, but that's my grade, so you can read it here. So these are all the things. Aptitude test means your suitability. Okay, the last time my youngest brother, he said, I want to apply for architecture. I said that all your life, I have never seen you draw a single thing. I never seen you build a single thing. What makes you think you have aptitude to become architecture? Okay. Okay, but obviously people can be different. Okay, but I'm just giving you some idea. Aptitude means your suitability. Okay. Does my CCA talent grade matter for Poly EAE? It matters, but less than course fit. Course fit is the most important thing. Okay, whether you fit the course. Can I switch course after I receive a Poly EAE offer? No, you can't. You can drop it. Can I switch course after I receive? No, the conditional offer is only for the specific course. So if you don't want the specific course, you can drop it. Then you can apply for JE under a different course if you want to change the course. Okay, so let's say you want to apply, let's say you get a DSA offer for Nyan Poly Nursing, right? But I accept it already, but times have changed. Then maybe a serious disease broke out and you realize that all nurses are very hard life. So I don't want to do nursing anymore. Let's change the DSA. Fine. So in this case, you got to drop, then you got to apply through the normal route. Okay. Can I still go to university? Yes. Yes. And right now, many poly students can go to university, but it's just like JC students. 80% of JC students enter university, but getting into the course you want is different. So same thing like poly. Okay. Right now, 30 plus. When I was a poly lecturer, only top 5%. Only top 5%, but after that, it increased to top 10%, top 20, now more units, it's up to 30 more. So 30% of poly students get to enter local universities. But the key is whether you get a course you want. To get a course you want, your grades must be good. There are no questions about it. Same thing like JC lah, same. 80% of all JC students enter university, but can they get the course you want? No. Okay, so same. Your grades matters. Yep. What is number 1 mistake students make in Poly EAE? Averaging instead of course itself, each course is a fit. Can I accept Poly and switch to another course later? No. Once accepted, you committed. That's why it's always about the commitment. Okay. So again, we're ending this one before we take questions and to look at some of the leadership questions you were asking. Hard truths from 20 years of advising families. We have been doing this for a long time. My social alone, we have helped over 2,000 plus students get their DSAs at all levels. So we're just trying to give you the hard facts. Should I apply if my grades are not strong? Yes, but only if your evidence is strong. Okay? Clear? Weak grades, weak portfolio. no chance. Something must be strong. I may not be very good at my studies, but I'm a fantastic tennis player at this domain is for tennis. I still got a chance. Clear? So we need, but both weak, I'm sorry. Sayonara. Don't waste time. How many JC should I really? MOE suggests 1 to 2. The smart split, that's why I gave you the split. 1 aspirational, 1 strong fit. Anything more diluted effort and weak application. Clear? Then you're just wasting your time. Like for instance, I just give you the reality. Like some of my students, they want to apply for badminton, ACS. I say that you are not even you don't even represent your cluster. How are you going to beat the national players? The ACS is a very strong badminton school. So this is what I call not realistic. You apply, you're just wasting your chance. Can you apply? Yes, you can. Will you get in? I will tell you, frankly speaking, 0 chance. Okay, 0 chance. Because if you can't even win the cluster, then how are you going to beat the national players? You have no chance. You can get 0. Again, I repeat, you can get 0. And in the trials, it'll be very obvious. Do you understand? So that's why I say sports is very clear. That is you like that, miss like that. Right? And it's like gymnastics. That person can triple somersault. You only can somersault once. You think who they will take? If you go on the pommel horse, okay, one of the most difficult pommel horse, that guy can do 8 times pommel horse. You 2 times, you've got to come down already. There is no comparison. Either you can or you cannot. Evidence is objective. Okay, that's what I said. Yeah, so we need to be realistic in that sense. If I get DSA, can I see here? No one's accept. What is the number 1 student's mistake applying based on the school name? This is very important. I want RI. It's not a strategy. I don't care what course is it. I just want RI. Wrong strategy. I repeat, right? And you see, people like Sarah. I want to talk about Sarah here to try to show that why I idolize him. Besides his Shah Rukh Khan looks, okay. Sarah, PSLE did well. He could go to RI, but he didn't. Some of you in this seminar, I know that you got options, right? But you also didn't go, which is fair enough. So Sarah didn't go to RI. Instead, he went to Bowen Secondary School. Sarah, which JC did you go to?
I went to St. Andrews.
You went to St. Andrews, right? It's not considered the super IP, but still, when he went to NUS, he's going to beat a lot of students from IP schools, and he got his first class honors. So I think we need to be clear here. Clear? It is not the school. You can be a brand name, you can be this, but it's ultimately what you do in the school that matters. Okay? I repeat, this is a very, very important. Don't go, because I've seen many students, I want to go to this. I said, why do you want to go here? Like last year, a lot of students were going RI. I said, why do you want to go to RI? He said, because the name sounds nice. I said, that's the wrong reason. Okay? That's the wrong reason. The last thing, it may sound prestige for a while until you realize that, oh shucks, it's not the school for me. Clear? The name at the end of the day, as I mentioned, if you go RI, you get 3 Cs. I go to Timbuktu JC, I get 3 As. University application, there is no comparison. 3 As will beat the 3 Cs anytime. Full stop. Clear? They don't say, wow, RI, more bonus points. Or RI name, bonus 5 points. No. Okay. So we need to be very clear about this. What do interviewers look for? No perfect answers. Yeah, we're not looking for perfect answers. We're just looking at how you think, how you respond. That's all. Okay, overcoached answers are red flag. This comes from mechanical. Can I apply to D? Yes, you can. Okay, cool. Now, what we tell our top students, when I say top students, I don't mean the top academics, the top students who succeed in the DSA. Clear? Clear? I'm not here top, means top applicants are not necessarily the top students in academics. So don't apply because your parents want it. That's why I always ask you, what fits? Okay, sometimes it can be quite sad, I tell you one real example. These are all real examples because I've seen so many. Okay, there was one very good RGS girl. Okay, RGS GEP student. Okay, this was right now she's in the late 20s okay, late 20s. It was quite a sad story. Why? Very strong student. Okay, very strong student. But so she was a strong student all the way. In RGS, in RI, grades are all super good in a lot of things. But she did a course which the mother wanted, which she hated. You know what course did the mother want her to do? Because the mother wanted her to fulfill her dreams. her mother wanted her to do a law course to become a lawyer because the mother couldn't become a lawyer. So she actually did it, but it was a chore for her because it was not what she wanted. It was not her strength. But because she was a very filial girl. She wanted to fulfill her mother's wishes. She did it. But after she did the law course, she really cannot stand it anymore. Does it affect her grades? Yes, because not so. She has never done any law. Straight away after university graduation law, you know what she did, which is pretty sad. She went to become a compliance officer at income tax. And given her super profile, I think it is a real waste. Do you understand? A compliance officer is just to check a box to see whether you follow the income tax rules. This was a real waste because when I look at the grades, this was a top student all the way one. Clear? But she did it because her parents wanted it. So it's important. Chase brand names blindly, list everything you've ever done, sound like a robot interviews. Okay, strongest students are clear, focused, authentic. I always mention authentic. The authentic voice is everything. Okay? The strongest application isn't the thickest file, it is the clearest story, the strongest fit, and the most authentic student. Story is only when you got interview. For a story can also be in terms of your performance, in terms of your sports, in terms of your so forth. Okay, fine. Clear? Clear. So right now I want to talk about Sarah. Besides the leadership questions, I'll take questions now. We will take questions now before we show you the leadership. Anything else you want to ask? So you all have this set of slides, right? I think it's important to have this set of slides. It has been given. Sarah has been given to everybody. Yeah, please feel free to share it around because we try to do things. We try to help as many people as possible, regardless of whether you're my structure student or not. Okay. So right now I'm going to go through the websites to show you live in action. Okay, let's go through. Okay, let's go to NJC. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, I'm going to share my screen so that we can go along as we look. Okay, NJC, later we show you other JCs. So I'm just taking random. National Junior College. Everybody can see, Can, Sorry, can see, right? Okay, NJC, let's talk about DSA. Okay, let's see whether any times, if not, we go to search. Let's see the done junior admissions. Admissions, JC DSA. Okay, joint admission is a JE. Okay, JC DSA. Let's click on this. Junior college admission, seeking admission directly, section GSA, okay, for false, they will not be allowed. All the rules are also there. So take a look, they show you everything. CC Excellence, Sports, what are sports and games, performing arts, excellence, leadership, MOE, science research program, language related. Is there a leadership? Ta-da! This is the question. Is there a leadership? Is there a leadership? Here. Hello? It's hidden here. But you see, it's not so obvious, because if you are selected for DSA, you join the Interact Club. You see or not? Sarah, do you see my statement? You see, so in different criteria, you see, leadership, you will join because it's not just leadership, it's community. Because Interact Club deals with the community, trying to help the underprivileged people. You join the community club, so it's different. Okay, so students, so the leadership to that extent. Okay, so you will be shortlisted, selected based on the following overarching criteria: demonstrate passion and commitment to grow. That's why you must have story in the area. You must exemplify and possibly real characteristics, resilience. Yes, definitely in everything you do. Display a commitment to contribute. You see, it's always the case, correct? What you can do for the school, what the school can do for you, and how you can contribute. It's always the same. Criteria specific to which, please read through the criteria. Each talent area, every school is different. Look, please read through the criteria carefully for each talent area. It also shows the portfolio requirements of each talent that require portfolio submission. That is why I always tell parents, when you ask me what leadership, what personal statement, I said you must look at the website. Am I clear? No shortcut for website because every school is different. Different requirements, different selection criteria, different portfolio requirements. This is very, very important. You ask me, I will only tell you the general ones. Am I clear? Okay. Can I tell you specific one? Yes, I can, but I cannot do this for everybody. Okay, so your job is, now that we have guided you, your job is to now look at it. Criteria. Let's take a look at it. Then later we look at this criteria. Look, DSA selection criteria, 2-year commitment. Let's talk about community leadership. English drama, 2-year commitment. You see, let's talk English drama. They very specific ability. So this is general, effective team player. Now this is specific. I need you to have a portfolio. Recent school-based performance production experience. So for portfolio showcasing a minimum of 2 links to video clips of each application in action. Okay, I want to give you some ideas, okay? Because some of these clips, you can actually produce it in advance and get everybody to subscribe. Okay, so fine. So for those of you who ask leadership, this is one leadership, a community leadership. Not all are the same. Let's go to Serangoon JC. Anderson Serangoon JC. I'm just looking at random. Again, joining, direct school admission, MOEJ's category, selection criteria. Look, specific, do they have leadership? So you see, different, here they list everything down directly for you already. Did you understand? It's different from NGC where it was hidden. This at least everything for you already. Then you look at leadership. Now, look, that is different. They also have the community leadership, but they also got leadership students council. Criteria for selection and commitment expected. Applicants are expected to have strong leadership skills and have performed key leadership roles such as students council, prefectorial board, peer support leader. So this one is very clear. Community leadership is a little bit different. Service-based, interact claims, Red Cross, student prefects. So am I clear about this? You have got to go. So what is leadership? It varies by definition. But in general, you need to be a student leader somewhere. And the more you have it, the better your chances. So, Sarah, does this answer the leadership question?
Yeah, it does.
Right,
but I think some people are looking for like specific schools as well. Like there's this question, what does Hwa Chong look term for leadership as well? Yeah.
Okay. Then what should you do? Go to the Hwa Chong website. And over time, it has changed. I tell you what has changed. Last time they used, a couple of years ago, they had this ridiculous statement, which I totally disagree. They had this statement, only head prefects and vice head prefects need apply. Very strong statement, which is totally uncalled for and diminishes the role of other student leaders. When I look at that, I said that this is a very bad statement. For sure, they got to scrap it one. It's true enough, 2-3 latest year that sentence was gone because then they made it a lot more expensive. Okay, let's go to Hwa Chong. Oops, human-computer interaction. So not so smart yet because Hwa Chong is not famous enough. Hwa Chong Singapore. Because Hwa Chong institution. Okay. Again, if you cannot find anything, just go to the search button. But here, for me, generally, we can all find one. Okay, because it's admission routes. You see it? As long as you got admission route, it's somewhere there. So I clear admission routes. Direct school admission exercise. So everything is here. Direct school admission size. MOE. For more details, Hwa Chong is They don't have a lot of information compared to Serangoon Anderson Junior College. Bilingualism, entrepreneurship. Now they have entrepreneurship, new one. Okay. Leadership. Look at leadership here. We welcome students with leadership potential, so it's vague. Vague, it means that it's open. Do you understand? And this is correct because last time I told you that Hwa Chong was very specific, head prefects and vice prefects run and they make it open, which is correct. Okay, a sense of so why I say that I always tell you that once you make it open, you can choose any way you want. Do you understand? Once you specify exact requirements of Serangoon Anderson Scholarship is very specific. If you don't have these roles, then don't bother applying. Clear? For this one, you can still apply. But for things like Serangoon, and when the requirements are very specific, if you don't meet them, then don't bother because you will not get it anyway. Am I clear? Clear? So you see, different JC, all different. Even the way the requirements are different, the level of detail is different. This is exactly what we're trying to tell you. How do you know this? Oh, there's only one way. Look at the specific JC you're applying to, full stop. Don't look at anything else. If you apply to Victoria School, go to Victoria JC, look at the website, look at the requirements, look at the criteria, look at the submission. Clear? Okay. Any other questions? I want you to ask questions. Now remember, no question is too silly one. That's why we're here to share. That's why Sarah and I are here to share. So any question at all, please shoot. Okay, any question at all, please shoot. And the more you ask, that's why we're here to clarify all the misconceptions. There's a reason why we're here, because too many misconceptions. That's why we're here to help you all and create all the slides for you all. Okay, so that all of you can benefit as much as possible. Let's go to another JC. Let's go to another JC so that we can, let's take a look at something else different this time. Let's take a look at performing arts. Okay, let's take a look at performing arts before we go to some poly. Okay, let's go to performing arts. Let's maybe we go to, give me a name, maybe give me a JC. Any JC. Give me a JC. Any JC. Just give me a name, everybody. STEM. Okay. Can I show STEM? Can. Okay. Let's STEM again. Very clear. Let's go to. Okay. Let's go to, because I do not know STEM, because different JCs different. Let's talk about. Okay. Just now we saw Hwa Chong has STEM, right? Do you recall? Hwa Chong has STEM, right? Let's go to look at Hwa Chong STEM. Okay. So what is required for STEM? Admission routes. So you see Hwa Chong here. Infocom, programming, or robotics. For students with experience or interest in computational thinking, coding, algorithmic problem solving, or robotics applications. So it's very specific. It's not all types of sciences. Right? So you got Infocom for technology. This falls under technology. Mathematics to demonstrate strong logical reasoning and mathematics. So this is very vague. Very vague means they require you to submit all your accomplishments really. Correct? If you have a theory named after you, I think you get it. Okay. Okay. Science. For students who have keen interest in science, but these are very, very vague, Let's are very vague. So let's choose another JC. So because it's very vague, you got nothing much to work on. You just submit, then see what they say. But in other words, you need to programming, you definitely need to have done something. You definitely need to build something. Your mathematics, you need to have some accomplishments or think about something. This is for sure. Let's take a look at Anderson Serangoon again. Let's see whether they have the STEM. I believe just now they also had. Okay, Anderson Serangoon. Anderson Serangoon now. Let's take a look. So Anderson Serangoon is very detailed, right? It's very detailed. Later we talk about Eunoia. Okay, let's talk. I want to see whether there's STEM here first because it doesn't apply to all schools. STEM would generally refer to the, you see, but they got something different. They got the Tamil elective program, which many JCs do not have. So it's a niche to them. Okay, niche to them, and they got this category, Chinese literature and language one. Okay, yeah. So yeah, some are pretty. Let's see the STEM. Okay, now you look STEM. They got a lot here. Criteria, technology, technology and computing elements, additional requirement, leadership experience in STEM-related areas is preferred. And for those who are applying for STEM, you can actually use this to build your portfolio as well. Clear? Let's say you're applying for Hwa Chong. Do you agree that some of these ideas here are pretty good? You agree? So you can use this as to build your portfolio statement or personal statement as well. That's why I said different school. And Anderson Secondary may not be an IP school, but you realize that it's a lot more detailed, a lot more clear. Hwa Chong is pretty vague. Contribute actively STEM CCA, be enrolled in STEM talent development program, science research talents, participate in long-term science research programs with tertiary institutions. It's very clear. Okay? Okay? So commit to one of the following. If you get in, you got to go to one of these. Okay, let's go to Eunoia JC. We are Eunoia. What a fabulous statement. Beautiful thinking, goodwill to all. It is quite cool. Something different from the other JCs. This is the first thing we strike to mind. Hey, something different really. We are Eunoia. Quite cool. All right. So everybody is trying to do admissions, direct school admission. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Joint admission exercise. Welcome. Eunoia. Interested students should go to a new section, So interested students should go to a news section to read the requirements before submitting, which must reach us by 29th of June. You still have quite some time. Tarang, news, here. So different school even do it differently. So it's now stung under news. See ya? See ya? The DSA opens on 6, looking for outstanding individuals. So it's vague. Outstanding. You see, solo, sports, badminton, basketball, performing arts, special school programs, humanities, music, leadership, because, but it's open to demonstrate achievements, talents in all such areas. It's vague. It's vague. Some must show strong passion or aptitude, possess clear understanding of requirements of a GC education, be familiar with the subject combination offered at Eunoia academic goals. Okay. So it's vague. It is vague. So you must just submit. Let's see. Program specific interview. So they tell you selection as criteria, selection process. So they even tell you what an interview, what is not. Short interviewing, physical trial. Definitely sports. CCA, you need a physical trial. I can say, let me give you an example. Because I'm a good speaker, I'm a good writer, I can submit application to Eunoia JC. Say that, oh, I, Alvin Kuek, fantastic sportsman. If I say that I'm number 1 at long jump, if I say that I'm number 2 at long jump, nobody will dare to say that it's number 1. So I can be staying, but I cannot jump at all. So it doesn't work. That's why I say physical trial is ultimately the most. So you see, you do have interview as well. But I can also tell you, look, applicants will be assessed on their suitability and readiness for JC curriculum and alignment with school values. This is also important because a Eunoia JC is a competitive JC. We need to at least to have some academic rigor. If not, we will struggle. Clear? So that's why the interviews to a certain extent is also important. But it probably will not be the most important thing. So you see, everything is written here in this case. Music elective program selection exercise through video and composition arrangements. You need to prove that you're good at music. Quality grades in O-level music, achievements awards, music performance, participation in national level in contest. So it's very clear when you need to show something. Okay? So everybody knows already, So all JCs will be different. We have just proven to you. All JC do it differently. All JC have different criteria. All JC have different deadlines. You just need to go to individual JC. Is the information all out? Yes, because it was supposed to be released on the 4th of May. All JCs would have already. If in doubt, what do you do? Besides calling Sarah, who may be too busy because she's busy dancing in Bollywood. If in doubt, contact the school. Right? That's one of the steps that I gave you also. All staff schools we have the 5, contact the school. Okay? I'm giving you the general principles which will generally be true to help all of you to navigate the system. Okay? Okay. Okay, I want to answer these questions. Okay, let's answer this question. I see this. I just happen to see this, so I'll just thought I'll do everyone. The question is this: is poly route more challenging to enter in local university as okay? Yes, this is a fact. Why yes? Just now I mentioned, right? Poly students, 30+% get into university. JC students, 80% get into university. But what did I say? Even though JC students can get to university, 80%, the problem is getting into the course they want. Okay? Most of them will not get into the course they want. This is also a fact. Yes, but definitely local university, poly students, but it can be done. 30% is not too bad. It's not too bad. Compared to last time, top 5%, it becomes a little bit harder, right? Now 30 over percent is not too bad. It says that's why you just need to study conscientiously and you'll be there. Okay. Okay, I'm going to answer Eileen's message. Is it advisable to apply to both JC? Yes, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. You can apply to both. I think it's fine because at this point in the day, we are not really sure. And if you die really not sure, very simple. Wait, don't accept the DSA, but at least you can see whether you get it or not. You understand? You can always try. Can. No problem at all. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Let's go through some poly. Let's go through. I want to go through because we're going to JC. So JC is pretty standard already. Everybody. Okay. Do me a favor. Give me 2 minutes. I've talked non-stop. And because I was singing the whole day, I just need to get a sip of water. Okay. Just give me 2 minutes. Sarah, you can take over the floor. With the dance moves, so I'll start.
Okay, I have a few questions here lah. So I think some of you have been asking me about the L1 R5 score and whether it's relevant for the JC itself. So for me itself, right, I think it really depends. Like for example, if there's this student that actually mentioned if the English is typically C5. Okay, so let me pose this question here to all of y'all. Okay, if the English is typically C5, but E-Math, A-Math, and Physics consistent A, can I consider for JC? Yes, you can, because your score will still be under 20. So you will be still eligible for your JC, right? But the problem is this. If your English is typically C5, when you go to JC, you're supposed to take something called general paper. So that's where you might actually fall out later on, because general paper is one of the toughest subjects when it comes to JC to hone your skills on. So this is something that you all might want to think about before you even apply for JC. But of course, okay, a lot of y'all have been asking me as well, okay, between JC and Poly, which one is better? Okay, there's no better route lah. To be honest, JC is for individuals who really don't know what they want to do. At that point of time, if you really don't know what course you want to go for, then you go for JC. But if let's say, okay, you're interested in a particular course, let's say for me itself, let's say I know that I want to do biomedical science, then of course you can apply for Poly itself, because for most of the jobs out there later on in your career, you have to require a certain handset or hand skills okay, in order to do the job. Okay, so that is something that you all can consider as well. Okay, but of course, between JC and Poly, JC is way tougher as compared to Poly. So I always tell my secondary school students this: before you consider JC, one of the things that you all should ask yourself is that currently, are you comfortable with what you are dealing with right now in terms of subjects, in terms of depth? If you're not clear, or you feel that it's already your maximum load, and you feel like basically you're not doing well or you're dying, then probably something for y'all to consider is really Poly. And later on, if y'all feel that, okay, you're good at a particular course that you went for, then you can go to uni from there. So there is no like one way suits or one best route lah, I would say. Yeah, so something for y'all to consider as well. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Other than this, let me see other questions as well. Because I think like quite a lot of you have quite interesting questions. So a lot of parents and also students here have also asked whether is it possible to apply for leadership under DSA Poly course. Okay, just to clarify, right, DSA Poly does not have a leadership domain. So just be very clear about that. But y'all can use your leadership experience to actually explain during your application. And you can showcase during your interview as well, okay, in order to get the interviewers to actually notice your okay during the interview slots lah. So something for y'all to consider also. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Alvin.
No, I
Yes.
think yes. Sarah, you can continue talking.
Oh,
No
okay.
problem. Yeah, you can continue
Okay.
talking. What Sarah said was right. Remember just now I showed you two slides. You had two slides. I said that the JC is more like the secondary and primary school domains, right? But when you apply for Poly, I another set a slide which shows that right now it's not more course specific already, more skill based. Okay. Yes, but what Sarah says is absolutely right. Your leadership can be used to support these courses if you position it correctly. Okay. So yeah, so Sarah can continue talking while I
Yeah.
just settle some
Okay.
questions. Yes, go on.
So many of you are asking about portfolios as well. So for portfolios itself, I think the key thing to take note is over the past few years, what you have been doing so far in your secondary school. The best thing to take note is that number one, okay, best if it's your awards are recent. So better to have a Sec 3, Sec 4 type of awards. Okay, it will actually be better compared to Sec 1 and Sec 2 lah. Yeah, in terms of application wise, because it shows that recently you got that award in terms of a timeline. That's number one. Number two is that you can actually showcase your CCA records and testimonials as well. Something for you all to consider. Yeah. And number three, any certificates and awards that is relevant to that course as well, and any photos and stuff as well. Yeah, so things to take note in terms of that. And also, some of you have asked also lah, whether international competition or national competition, which one is better? Obviously, international competition is definitely better. So even if you get, let's say for example, you get fifth place in international competition versus first place in national competition. Of course, fifth place in international competition is way tougher as compared to first place in national competition. But of course, you can showcase both. But if you think that you have to have a prioritized list, then of course the international competition will take priority lah in that sense. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions that we have in terms of this route? Because most of it I've already more or less answered. Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. Is there any JC having DSA category for AI? I know AI is on the rise now lah, but currently there's no DSA category for AI. Okay, closest is Infocom lah. Okay, that I think only ACJC and BJC have. Okay, so something for y'all to take note as well. Okay, there is an interesting question on EAE, which is somebody asked about HR and psychology as well. So for HR and psychology, I think SP is the most popular place where most students actually go for in terms of the EAE. So something for you to take note about HR and psychology, right, is if you think about the course, it's mainly about engaging people, it's about communication skills, and it's about also developing talent to support the business growth and stuff. So for those of you who are interested in that role, right, you should have very strong communication skills, and especially it will be best if you have a lot of like event organization type of skill set. Okay, because for HR and for especially for HR it's a lot about event organization skills. So if you led an event, you have sort of planned an event for a school, for example, or for your CCA, that will actually stand out better in terms of application type of a skill set for HR and psych as compared to other type of skill set. But of course, leadership roles, all this also applies to these things. Yeah. Okay. So any other questions that the students have, y'all can actually put in the chat here, okay, to see while I'm looking at other questions. Wait, let me see. Is there a good, okay, so there's a student called Farhan that asked this question. So is there a good chance of me getting into a good JC if I consistently get A1 for all these subjects and C5 for English lah? So and humanities lah. Like what I said, definitely you have a good chance because you will definitely get below 15. I would guess if you're able to score that same level of grades. But the problem is that as I said, okay, English and humanities, especially for English, it tends to get harder when you go to JC. And it's best if your English is around the B3, B4 grade before you go to a JC. Because in JC, there's something called general paper that is going to actually be very tough. Even for me itself, when I entered JC, the first time I took the GP test, I got U, which means I failed. I failed the GP test. Yeah. So it's quite tough in terms of that. So something for y'all to consider lah, for those of y'all going JC. Yeah. Okay. How to prepare DIP for banking and finance? Wow, this one, I don't know whether Alvin can answer or not. Banking
What
and
is the question?
finance. How to prepare for banking and finance?
What banking and finance? What diploma?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's very simple. You just need to pay me like $20,000. I can have you build that portfolio because I was a finance professional. Okay, and I was a lecturer in that domain. No, don't worry. I will show you a couple of things. For now, I just want to talk about a couple of things. As you can see, the Polytechnic early admission exercise begins in June. So if you go to the respective polys, they actually have events, correct? So if you look at the heading here, so that you understand that, so you can actually go to the poly to get a feel, to get a country. See, join us on 5th and 6th of June to explore NYT, discover our students' EAE's journeys, and pick it helpful. So you may want to consider going to these open houses. Okay, clear? So let's talk about banking and finance. Okay, banking and finance, Nanyang. Let's see whether Nanyang Poly we would have. Find a course so that we see. Okay, so that we see. Find a course. How would you get in? Don't worry. Accountancy and finance. So you must be clear. You got AI and data engineering. Do you have banking and finance? No, you don't have banking and finance. You have accountancy and finance. School of Business. Oh, you have a banking and finance. Plan intake 64 points. Diploma in this. School of Business and Accountancy. So right now, the question here, this one is very clear. They actually even have the plan intake. But my question, but here, I'm not too sure whether this one refers to EAE or not. I would imagine not. Okay. I would imagine this is just the cohort size, but I'm not too sure. Okay, so I'm just looking at the requirements here. If you take a look at here, how do you prepare? Okay, how do you prepare? I think what happens is this. You have got to, you just said, because again, I repeat, they actually have, they don't have the requirements. I'm trying to find something. The early admission exercise. Courses. Okay, I'm just trying to filter through courses. Loading. Common business program. You don't have a lot. Common business programs. Interested in applying for this course, check out the students' business management. I'm just looking at it first. Or if I don't clear all. EAE, Saturday man, EAE tips. Okay, EAE tips. You see, so this one is important to do the query. You realize from here that they got EAE tips, EAT tips, health sciences, EA tips. So it's yours is banking and finance is probably going to fall under here if you're applying for Nanyang JC. Clear? So that's why you have got to try to navigate your way because all of them present it differently. So EAE tips business, and let's open this. Okay. More self-help for your EAE application. Application. So it's very clear. Preparation tips for early admission exercise out of our 39 full-time 16 courses, accept up to 50%. So this is pretty cool. So they're telling you way in advance. Now, this was what I told you just now, right? That's what I told you. Be focused, tell your story. That was what we said just now. Be authentic, show passion. Exactly like what we said just now. Be confident, don't hesitate. Familiarize yourself with interview questions and practice your answer. Yes. So again, they are just saying what we said just now. In our slides already, just like slightly different from essence is the same. Okay. Find how applicants are evaluated, discover useful tips. So all these things, please go in and find. So this is how. So now that I've given you an answer, can I collect my $20,000? Okay, so very important because they're all different. Don't look at it, banking and finance, how at least you must know. Look, the tips here. Ideal applicant, sweet for you. Applicants should demonstrate enthusiasm for finance enlistment, which you have done business study in finance. Ability to describe that. This is important. So very important. You want to do banking and finance, you better know what's going on in the world around. So if I ask you one question, which are the top 4 global financial centers in the world? General knowledge, but only if you're interested in that topic, right? Which are the 4 global financial centers? Now listen carefully. I'm giving you the answers, okay? Because I'm in this field. Okay, so yeah, because my degree is accountancy. I'm a chartered accountant and I did a whole lot of accountancy and finance qualifications. This is I'm pretty familiar. Yep. And I was a CFO. So I was a CFO, the chief financial officer of a listed firm when it came to technology. So I'm pretty familiar with all these things. That's why I know. Okay, 4 global financial centers: New York, London, where else? Hong Kong, Singapore. Singapore, small city, but big in footprint. Okay, clear? So ability to describe current affairs, business trends, developments in business, the macroeconomic environment, critical thinking, analytical skills, problem solving, which they may give you a case study. Ability to communicate. So speaking is everything. As long as you're speaking, I always mention people, even if you're not so good in your profile, but if you can speak well, you can. It's always better than a person who has a good portfolio but cannot really speak well, because you're able to convince the panel better. This is important, okay? That's why I always tell you about speaking. Speaking is important to pick up the speaking. Okay, for those of you who will leave now, please feel free to leave. Yeah, we're going to end in 5 more minutes. That's all. So shortlisted will be applicant, assess an interview. You see, they even tell you specific questions. Tell me what kind of service you think a banker performs. See, they're giving you example already, huh? A banker performs. You must really be interested. Follow-up question: how do you think they add value to the clients? Can you show? So this is what I mean. You need to do some preparation. You cannot say, "Oh, I like to join." Tell me why you want to join banking and finance. I don't know. I think it makes a lot of money. I love money. Okay, no, you need to be specific. You see, so it's very specific, very specific. Business-related questions, but don't worry too much. Why I said don't worry too much? Because almost all students are not going to be able to answer. Do you understand? But if you're able to prepare a little bit, you stand out very clearly. Okay, cool? Yes. Portfolio. If you have portfolio, what to include? Optional. If you have, you good. Any activities, investment portfolio. So it means that if you don't have right now, start investing in stocks and shares. No, just joking. Otherwise, you may lose all your money. Okay? Yes. Build an imaginary portfolio trading, but all these things, does it help? Yes, it shows that you're interested. I always tell people, you need to show people that you're interested. Okay? Cool? Yeah. So this applies to every polytechnic, which I've showed you already. Every time, that's why you must navigate. Just navigate, just go there, listen to them. If you're really interested in polytechnic, go open the open house. I really think you should. But don't waste too much time now. Don't attend all 5. Then June holiday all burn. 2 days per poly, 10 days ready, then go, then you don't need to study for O levels. Right? That's a bad strategy, okay? Just 1, 2 solid polys, you go, you can listen. Or if you don't listen, it's fine. Just go to the website, watch the videos. I think it's good enough. Do I think that you need to go to the poly in order to find out? My answer? No. No. Okay, everything is on the website these days. Okay? So Sarah, I think you can continue. So just in case they can ask you any questions, you can continue. Before we end in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a question here. So if for DSA-JC, if they ask for subject combination and I don't indicate chemistry as a subject I want to take, will I get in? Especially if it's chemistry is B3. Okay, so for this one, right, the thing is this, for DSA-JC, most of the time, okay, they will look at talent areas, okay? Of course, your results does matter in that sense, but you have to be honest about, if you're taking chemistry, then you should be declaring it and you shouldn't be omitting it out when you're directly asked for it. If not, it seems like they might be able to void your offer lah, because you're basing it based on your integrity, right? So that is something that you should be careful about. Okay, try not to hide the subject that you are taking. Okay, in terms of that, but rather I rather you all own it lah. In that sense that if you think that you got a B3, you can just declare it, and then later on, okay, based on your talent areas, they might take you all in based on the key selection criteria. Yeah, so be very careful about hiding your results. Yeah, please do not indicate chem as a subject when you're taking chem as a subject lah. Okay, that's something that is quite interesting in terms of a question. Yeah. So any other questions do you all have? You all can ask in the chat as well. I'm looking at the chat lah. Okay, I see another question. Okay, somebody said thanks for advice. Okay, no worries. Yeah. Oh, okay. DSA form has a tentative subject part where you say that subject combination. Yes. Yeah. Then that is okay. Yes, Rehan. Sorry, that is okay. Definitely. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions that you all have that you all want to ask about? Okay, I see that it's quite quiet. Okay, so in terms of poly-wise, I see that there are quite a number of courses that a lot of people are quite interested in lah. So one of the courses that people ask me about is aerospace engineering. So for aerospace engineering, as usual, your Sec 3 and Sec 4 results does matter. Okay, but of course for aerospace engineering, if you want to get into aerospace engineering, something related to aviation will be good. So for example, if your school has aviation club or something along that line, okay, if you're in that CCA, it will be highly beneficial for you lah. Okay, which is mainly relevant. Of course, in terms of aerospace engineering, best is if you're going for STEM competitions as well, it'll be good to showcase because it's engineering. Usually for engineering, they look at math and science and critical thinking skills lah, and also the ability to build stuff on the spot. Yeah, so something for y'all to take note. So science and physics related achievements will be good as well for aerospace engineering lah. That's something that I wanted to answer as well for Ellie. Yeah. So anything else that we missed out, y'all can ask. Yeah. I don't see any other questions. Anything else? Okay, let's see. Okay, so just now there was this interesting question also that I saw. So between leadership and choir, which one is more competitive? Of course, leadership more competitive lah, because leadership is a variety of talent areas, right? In terms of CCAs and stuff. But choir is a very niche specialized type of talent area. So between leadership and choir, of course, I would say generally leadership is more competitive. But of course, it depends from school to school, whether the school actually specializes in choir or not. Yeah. So something for y'all to also remember in terms of that.
Yeah. What Sarah said is correct. You know why? Because leadership is something like catch all. If I don't have performing arts, if I'm not in a choir, I don't have strengths, but I'm a student leader somewhere, I try to apply for leadership. So this is always the truth. And by default, is probably going to be the most competitive if there is a leadership domain. Okay, by default. Yes. But somebody has got to get it. So it can be you, depending on how you profile yourself. Modern dance and tennis, which is more competitive, depends on the school because of the intake. Depends on what level you're looking at. Because there are some, okay, very simple. If you look at some tennis DSA, you realize that some schools are really, every year they win one, correct? And the players are all national junior players. Then you got other schools where they don't win, but they just treat it as a way for students to develop. They compete, but not at that level. So it really depends. So what is competitive or not really depends on the school. Yeah. You can actually know by taking a look at all the achievements in that particular domain. Then you get a rough idea whether it's competitive or not. The more impressive it is, 100% more competitive. It doesn't matter. So we cannot say that when we say that leadership is a definite domain, why it's possible? Because it is a catch-all. Do you understand? But tennis and dance, like what Sarah said, is niche already. It's niche already. So niche is very difficult to say that tennis is more. Can I tell you that tennis is more competitive than squash? Not necessarily. It really depends. I just give you, it was an advice which I gave parents many years ago. I just give you, this is an amazing finance. So when parents ask me, preparing the schools for DSA secondary, some of them are primary 2, primary 3. I said that you do something which your child is interested in, but if you ask me to choose, I tell you which is more strategic. I told them, you look at last year, because I know, because my students were there. Last year, girls squash. I mean, I'm talking about year, means that year I was giving the advice. I said last year, that was like 10 years ago. No, 10 years, 12, 13 years ago. So I told them, in that year, squash, girls under 12 had all my students, three of my students were national semi-finalists. Looks impressive, right? That means definitely one of them is getting a bronze already. Until you find out that the whole national competition, only 4 participants. So direct into semi-finals, okay? But it looks good because straight away, but people don't know there are only 4 participants, right? So on your DSA profile, top 4 under 12, which is true, but there are only 4. So I tell parents, so if I am strategic, I put my daughter in squash. Don't go and table tennis and badminton. They are very, very competitive because a lot of people play. Do you understand? Yeah, so there's no right or wrong. It's just like that. But this is my point. Don't let this dawn you. So Ivy, if you really like dance, go for dance. Don't need to consider whether it's more competitive because we never know. Do you understand? We never know, and we don't know who are the people who are competing. Maybe modern dance is competitive, but they go there. Suddenly they see somebody like me, jialat already, cannot dance, but apply for modern dance. I'm just giving an example, okay? So if you really like passionate about it, I think you should just apply. Don't need to think too much about whether it's competitive or not. Because if you're good in it, you stand a chance. This is my recommendation. Because the minute we think of which is more competitive, then it's very difficult. Because still at the end of the day, someone has got to do it. Because this is all niche CCA. My son is the leader in baseball club, so should apply for DSA sport leadership. It depends on how good he is in the baseball. If you're telling me baseball club, you got a national awards and whatever, and you're a captain. Okay, so there are 2 things you must look at it. It is very important. Listen, like what I said just now. If you want to apply for DSA sport, do you want to play baseball again in JC? Because if you don't want, you should not. Full stop. Because I know our students go in, wow, you see, these are real cases, Nanyang girl student, wow, happily apply for DSA. Happily apply for DSA, then get in already. Then after that, you see, because they were all my students, I know because I helped them. So this girl got into DSA chess. Listen, got into DSA chess and Nanyang girls. But this girl is a very good dancer. Very good dancer. So she applied for, she went to apply, you know, Sarah, you know which girl is? This girl is Rachel, Moses' youngest sister. So she applied for, because she's a very natural dancer. So she applied for all the dance clubs at Nanyang Girls, and she beats all the DSA dancers. So all the teachers want her. Until they find out, shit, shucks. Sorry, not shit, shucks. She's in chess DSA. Then she started crying. Then they tell her, hey, you cannot join dance already. But I said, I really like dance, but you join chess DSA. But I don't like chess as much as dance, but you entered through chess DSA. So cry. Yeah, but this is the point. You can't. Okay? So my question is, if you really like baseball, you can. If you don't like baseball, cannot. But ultimately, it depends on your achievement. Right? It depends on your achievement. Because if you apply for sports, it really depends on what you do as a leader, baseball leader. What is your job as a leader? Is it just a captain or what? So I think we need to be very specific, okay? But most importantly for me is whether he wants to do this CCA in JC. And this is my frank opinion. Everybody listens. The only time CCA is compulsory is in secondary school. I repeat, primary school is not compulsory, GC is not compulsory. But it's good to have for your portfolio building to show that you're not just studying. Okay? Okay? But not everybody likes to continue with the CCA, so it's very important. So if you want to get DSA through a CCA which you don't really like, I would think that this is a bad choice. Okay? Let's say I don't want this CCA, but I think it's the easiest for me to get in. I get into this CCA and then I start this CCA. I don't think it's the best choice. Okay? Because you need to enjoy what you're doing. This is my frank opinion. There's no right or wrong answer here. Okay? Cool. The answer is, okay, this is the question. If you're interested in a sports CCA, but your secondary school say is a performing arts CCA, and you join an outside club in that particular, is there a chance to get it? The answer is yes, but you need to show really outstanding achievements. You need to show really outstanding achievements because your school doesn't have that club, which is just fine. But anything which is at national level and you got achievement is definitely can. Okay, but if you got nothing, then cannot. Like for instance, I'm not in netball, but I joined the my CC, my community club, netball club, and we just play once a month. It is not gonna work. You understand? It's just like a casual hobby. It's not a talent. You must be good in it. If you're just casual, don't. You're just wasting your choice. Okay? Can? So I think any more questions? We take one last question so that you can go back to your studies. And any questions, don't worry, we are here to here at My Stretcher, we'll try to help as many people as possible.
Yeah, so there's this question. If you want to DSA to a JC through leadership or humanities program, which option should you choose? Yeah. Yeah. So I think that one, I think personally, right, it depends on what you are looking for. Okay, I think leadership, right? The good thing about leadership is that it's available in more JCs as a talent area. So if you want to cast your net wide, then maybe that might be a better option. Okay, but of course, it only applies if you have a very good fit in terms of a strong CCA leadership role, character values, and so on and so forth. But remember, as just now I mentioned, leadership is also generally competitive. So you need to think very, very carefully before you go for that. Okay, but for humanities program, of course it's very niche. So again, it applies to the similar question just now, right? But the problem is this, it is smaller in terms of applicants wise, definitely there is lesser pool of people for you to compete with, but it's only at selected JCs. So it depends on whether you want to cast your net wide or you want to really go and specialize in that humanities area. So that is a very hard decision to make. But something for you all to think about, okay, in terms of that. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's about it for tonight. And thank you everybody, thank you all parents, and thank you all students for joining us, and thank you all the team for organizing, especially Sweti, the Roy, all the team. This is like an award acceptance speech. and and Sarah for helping to answer all the questions. Okay, so don't worry, this is a process. It's not the last time you're going to hear from us. Any questions later on? Maybe we can have another seminar to tackle all your questions, especially when the interview and trial start. Where can we get the recording? That's a good question. Roy Sweti, where can we get the recording? I think the recording links will be sent to everybody, right? Correct. Yes. So don't read the recording links will be up in 1 to 3 days, and everybody will get the link, regardless of whether you want to share it with your friends. By all means, go ahead. Okay, because I think it's some information which I think it's important that you already have a idea. Otherwise, there are a lot of misconceptions, rules flying to and fro. Okay, cool. Visit our YouTube channel. Stay tuned. The recording will be up in 1 to 3 days. Okay. So yeah, that's it. And thank you everybody for joining us.